So this is Baruch Fleischman, and we've been working on this Likutei Maharan for this year yesterday. We got to a part where it said like this. Here we go. But then when a person rectifies his aspect of Malchus, which is his connection into the Pnimius of Olam Atzilus, which is the world of eternity, he is able to rule over whatever he chooses. He can bring death to one person, or give life to another. The world would then be ravaged. So to this, the Mishnah says, and judge everyone favorably. It is necessary to judge each person favorably, for the Holy One has no desire in the world's destruction. He did not create it a wasteland, but formed it to be inhabited. Now, I'm not sure that I understand what kind of a power a person would have as a result of being Dovik. So there I really don't understand everything here. Let's take a look at this little verse that we said. So the world's destruction. The Hashem doesn't want the world's destruction. So he says, by rectifying the voice of song, right? I was thinking that the voice of song could be also the voice of ideas. You have Trotsky, you have Marx, you have Christianity, you have all different kinds of isms all over the world. Every different perspective that is possible has a different ruach that's associated with it. It's a ruach of song. But a certain gains a person a certain degree of rule and mastery, including the ability to issue decrees for life or death. Now that's rectification. That's something I really don't know, which heaven carries out. So if some person is that close a judge, this person becomes a judge, so to speak, and he's able to have the divine understanding, he could bring life or death. So it's therefore of the utmost importance that he always look for the good in others. He must not destroy God's creation, because the Creator himself values loving kindness and desires the world's continued existence. Now, here's a story that is a really nice story. It talks about the destruction that can be brought about as a result of this yichud, this tremendous yichud that takes place between certain Talmidei Chachamim, or anybody who has an insight, like I say, a geschmack in the Torah. It's a connection. So a person can expand that. So he says, here's the story of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. We call him Rashbi. The Talmud relates how Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was forced to flee from the Romans who were occupying the land of Israel. He hid in a cave with his son Rabbi Elazar, and the two of them spent their entire time studying Torah, which is the way to rectify Malchus. So the tremendous rectification that they made in Malchus was to open up a huge channel of light. After 12 years, Eliyahu the prophet appeared in the entrance of the cave to inform Rabbi Shimon that the decree against his life had been rescinded. Now, leaving the cave, Rabbi Shimon saw people working the field. This angered him. How dare they occupy themselves with worldly matters instead of Torah, he declared. Fires then erupted wherever Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Elazar looked, until the voice rang out from heaven, "You've come out to destroy my world? Return to your cave." Rabbi Shimon and his son returned to their isolation for another year, after which they were given heaven's permission to leave. Rabbi Elazar still could not contain his anger. However, as the Talmud relates, Rabbi Shimon rebuilt whatever Rabbi Elazar devastated, for he had begun to judge everyone favorably. So this is the idea he wants to say. The Rebbe says in a very metaphoric way here, how important it is to be able to judge people favorably. The rabbi in the local shul said a nice word, goes the same idea. He says the main thing you learn from going to shul is tolerance. Tolerance is the concept of judging everyone favorably, seeing that we're all one ruach and going into oneness. Rabbi Shimon rebuilt whatever Rabbi Elazar devastated. He had begun to judge everyone favorably. There is much in this incident that relates to our lesson. So Rabbi Shimon spent his long night in exile studying Torah. We do the same thing. He rectifies his aspect of Malchus and attains such an exalted level that he was granted permission to reveal the esoteric teachings of the Torah. In other words, the secret, special teachings of the Torah, which is the Zohar. Now, this particularly should be studied during the night, and so if we've talked about that before. Yet, even someone as great as Rabbi Shimon, he turned critical and had to be shown the value of judging everyone favorably. So this is a contrast. Sometimes maybe it seems like after Yom Tov, such a high level, I have to go back to work again. Work is so crass. I'm not saying that I'm Rabbi Shimon. I'm just saying that's a feeling that I had. So he said, this is a world to be inhabited. The Mishnah thus translates in our text as follows. Get yourself a rabbi. In order to rectify your aspect of Malchus, get yourself a companion. Bind yourself to holy speech. And who is the companion? The companion is music, the music of holiness. That's the music of the Torah. But once you've rectified your aspect of Malchus, take care not to become so zealous that you destroy the world in your burning desire to see it rectified as well. Well, I would say, I could fit right in there. Very difficult to be able to really believe in something, want something. Look at politics in the United States. You destroy the world in your burning desire to see it rectified as well. Therefore, judge everyone favorably. So this is the whole thing. In the course of a discussion about the mitzvah of bringing children into the world, the Talmud in the Yevamos quotes this verse from Isaiah. He did not create a wasteland, but formed it to be inhabited. Reb Nosson writes, the main reason each person is sent into the world is to rectify his personal aspect of Malchus. To rectify it to the degree that a person succeeds in his mission, he reveals God's Malchus. In other words, we become transparent. We become a kli that holds the light of nothing. Thus, a person should use everything he has at his disposal. All that God has given him to reveal Malchus of holiness in the world. So we can become a receptacle. Now here's a review that we're going to take up to this point. In review, listening to the singing of a virtuous person, that is the person singing Torah, is beneficial to serving God. Listening to the singing of a wicked person, these are the people who are doing it for themselves, is detrimental. The reason that its song, which corresponds to prophecy, stems from Netzach and Hod. Let me just flash that over here again because I got it worked out. Well, I thought I did. Where'd it go? Here it is. The flow. Remember, the end of the line is, the right line is Netzach. The end of the left line is Hod. All of that shefa, all of that bracha that's coming down, eventually what makes its way into Malchus, but it's fed. He wants to say this is Netzach and Hod because this is where music comes from. This is where prophecy comes from. Now, he's not explaining to me at this time. I hope that I'll be able to understand this better. What is it about Netzach and Hod that makes music? Music is a vibrations, different rhythms, different things like that. I still don't know exactly how that works. I'd like to find out, but that's for another time. So he says, listening to the singing of a virtuous person is beneficial to serving God. Listening to the singing of a wicked person is detrimental. The reason is that song which corresponds to prophecy come from these two spheres which are Netzach and Hod. Let's say they correspond to the legs of Zeranpin. The two spheres that nurse Malchus, so they feed Malchus. A person is sustained by the vitality he receives from one of the two manifestations of Malchus, commensurate with his deeds. He draws either from Malchus of holiness or Malchus of the other side. To protect oneself from harmful singings and song, one should study the oral Torah, Talmud at night. So here we go again. In the daytime, everyone could see you. It's a time to show up. There's a little story that Rabbi Nachman has coming up that we want to talk about sincerity. So in Spanish, like a lot of times, like people would say, un hombre sincero, somebody who's sincere or serious. He says, to protect oneself from harmful singers and song, one should study the oral Torah at nighttime. This will rectify song and protect him from blemishing. What's the blemish they're talking about? Egoism. Malchut, King David, so Malchut. King David attained kingship because he rectified the voice, the song, and knew how to draw. I'm going to come over here now. And knew how to draw. Let me see. Maybe I went the wrong way. This is number 56. I'm going to go to 57. So there's a little something I missed. And knew how to draw. (57) Song. Nurse Malchus from holiness. And each person must rectify his unique aspect of Malchus. At the same time, he must take care that the power this affords him does not cause him to harm himself or anyone else. So that's a concept here of the person who doesn't really have the connection but just wants to be seen as having the connection. This is Baruch Fleischman, Tikkun Elevator, Kolel.